The same woman, unchanged, peering out from posters separated by 50 years. How's that possible? Content warning. This story explores real-life missing person cases, identity mysteries, and emotional distress surrounding unresolved disappearances. Listener discretion advised. In a cramped photo studio overflowing with cameras and negatives, boxes from a recent estate sale sat stacked near the entrance. Their contents, hundreds of missing person posters collected over decades by a retired detective. Dust motes swirled in the dim evening light as each sheet was spread across a scarred wooden table, the faces and names blurring together, a silent chorus of the lost. Among these relics, one image stood out. Staring back from a faded 1971 poster was a young woman with a sharp jawline, deep-set eyes, and a striking beauty mark. Beside the printed details, missing Denise Carter, last seen wearing a green dress, brown overcoat. Her expression carried a unique composure, almost as if she were hiding a private knowledge. More posters surfaced. In 1986, the same face, this time beneath the name Emily Zhang, and in a different city. The pose, the tilt of her head, the telltale mark, all unchanged. The only concessions to the passing years were the posters themselves, the cardstock thickening, the ink formulas and fonts drifting with the times. The discovery became a fixation. Each decade spat out a new identity. Jessica Bell in 2003, Jane Doe in 2021, yet the woman herself defied all aging. Her age, somewhere between 25 and 30, remained constant as the world blurred around her in a relentless forward march. Florid notes and scrawled appeals were found tucked between posters. Desperate messages from loved ones, personal artifacts, a dried flower, a torn photograph, a locket. The woman's face always reappeared amidst this chaos, as steady and inscrutable as a painting. Sleep came fitfully, if at all. Each night, the studio lights burned deep into the morning. Document files, yellowed news clippings, and police department stamps confirmed the legitimacy of every artifact. Yet every attempt to explain the mystery crumbled. No twins, no sisters, no suggestion of photo manipulation detectable in overlays or chemical analyses. Even digital facial recognition algorithms returned improbable results. The same match for posters 50 years apart, despite the names or places. Haunted by unanswered questions and unable to abandon the search, the investigation expanded. Photographs of the posters were mounted on the wall, creating a visual timeline that defied the logic of time itself. Clues collected, background cars changing make and decade, hairstyles and clothing echoing the fashion of each era, but the face in the center of each storm remained frozen. Digging through the files revealed another layer. The retired detective whose collection this had been once confided to his daughter.
I can't throw anything away if it has a face.
His handwritten notes trailed off in frustration.
She never returned.
The same phrase appeared, scrawled in shaky script, on the back of an uncirculated Polaroid from 1971. A secret anguish threaded through every clipped article and faded photo. With each passing day, the compulsion grew deeper. The studio's quiet became heavy with the weight of so many vanished stories. Each face clamored for remembrance, but the unchanging woman in the posters demanded something more. Explanation, perhaps even redemption. Screen icy flickered on police database entries in cold case forums. Investigators and archivists replied with skepticism or silence.
Coincidences happen,
One officer muttered.
never like this.
In national registries and international archives, Interpol, NAMOs, the same woman did not exist. The walls, now overrun with decades of printed faces, seemed to pulse with unanswered meaning, a riddle stitched through time itself, waiting for recognition. The woman, forever missing, was now impossible to forget. The obsession, once a spark, now burned with a relentless force. Walls in the studio became a shrine to the unknown. Every scrap of information, every lead, every theory posted with pins and crimson thread, weaving a web that had only one center. Her. Legwork began in earnest. Files in hand, trips were made to local police stations. In Baltimore, the cold case archivist recognized a 1971 poster immediately. "One of our oldest," she said, flipping through a digital index. Denise Carter had vanished one rain-soaked Thursday, No witnesses, no credible suspects, only a battered green dress found miles away. No one linked her to the posters from later decades. A detail emerged, the locket in the original photograph. Its design, an Art Nouveau piece decorated with lilies, was rare. Research in antique jewelry forums confirmed it matched only a handful made by a Baltimore artisan in the late 1960s. One such locket, tarnished but intact, appeared again in the 1986 poster from Chicago, now gracing the neck of Emily Jem. Impossible, unless the woman carried the locket with her, or unless the image traveled, copied, attached to different cases over decades. Seeking patterns, maps were drawn, dates, locations, disappearances. No family seemed to bridge the gaps. Each time the woman vanished, she did so in a new city with a new background. In Miami, Jessica Bell's case file mentioned a traffic stop weeks before her disappearance. Dashcam footage showed her face, unchanged since the 70s. Investigators dismissed it as a statistical anomaly. The only consistent thread, after each vanishing, within days the trail went cold and witnesses contradicted each other. Research tunneled into classic databases and forums. Amateur sleuths found connections in the strangest places. A genealogy blogger noticed the 2003 and 2021 posters appeared on opposite sides of a missing persons conference program. Pure happenstance, or perhaps a subtle cry for help, structured by someone on the inside. The blogger, obsessed with facial morphometry, ran AI overlays and published the results. "It's the same person in every era," he wrote. His comment section exploded with conspiracy theories. Doppelgangers, time travelers, cult recruitment, government cover-ups. Pressure intensified. News of the investigation made local headlines. Photographer unearths impossible missing person connection, the Baltimore Sun declared. Phone calls flooded in. Former detectives, grief-stricken relatives, the genuinely curious and the unhinged. Most were dead ends. But one tip stood out. A retired radio host, Anna Forsyth, swore she met the woman in Atlanta, spring 1987. She described a sense of déjà vu so acute it made her physically nauseous. The woman introduced herself as Louisa and wore a locket that caught the sun just so, sending bright patterns across the diner's table. Anna, pressed for more, recounted her impression of the woman, calm but watchful, almost as if waiting for a signal.
She asked the strangest thing.
Anna remembered.
She wanted to know what year it was, like she wasn't sure.
The search evolved from paperwork to people. Witnesses, even years later, recalled the effect the woman had. Her kindness, her reticence, her penchant for disappearing in a crowd. One barista in Seattle described her as the type of customer who paid in cash and returned exact change, no matter the price. Two tension peaks emerged. The first was forensic. A breakthrough in facial analysis, provided by a university lab, indicated no signs of photo manipulation or digital forgery among the posters, not even in the earliest ones. Every image was a chemical photograph, untouched by editing. The second was emotional. An email arrived from a woman named Agatha Marsh. She'd lost her daughter in 2003. In the attached photo was the Jessica Bell of the Miami poster, but Agatha wrote, "This isn't my daughter. My Jessica's hair was red and her cheekbones were softer. But I still dream about her, and this woman comes to me in those dreams." A pause and reflect moment settled in late one night as rain battered the studio window. The faces on the wall looked out with silent accusation. How many families had found their hope twisted by a stranger's face plastered everywhere, always just out of reach? How many children once feared the missing posters, only to grow up and realize their unease had a reason? In search of real-world connections, cold case files were compared. Police reports noted witnesses describing the same thing. She was never seen with a companion. She left parties early and walked alone at night. Every sighting involved a narrow window, hours, sometimes minutes, before she vanished, never to be traced. Surveillance footage, where it existed, offered only long shots and partial profiles. A deeper truth glimmered. Maybe the face was a cipher, a stand-in for the unsolvable. But for the photographer piecing it all together, the emotional stakes had passed a point of no return. Every new clue offered the hope of a resolution, even as that same hope threatened to become a curse. The deeper the investigation plowed, the more the lines blurred between fact and fiction, truth and nightmare. Late nights melted into early dawns spent poring over archives, following threads that tangled into obscurity. Friends voiced concern, whispering of obsession, of chasing ghosts no one else believed in. Unexpectedly, an archive box arrived from a former detective near Seattle, containing documents no one knew existed. Interview transcripts, sketches, and a mysterious diary. Its pages were brittle and faintly scented with old cedar, the handwriting looping and hurried. The diary belonged to a woman named Martha Lane, who claimed to have seen the woman beneath the posters. Martha's entries were haunting. She described a figure who moved like a shadow, whose eyes held storms, who vanished at the edge of crowds. She wrote of a train station encounter in 1994, after which the woman slipped into the mist like a ghost. She said her name was Evelyn, but something in her voice was broken, unreachable. Cross-referencing Martha's notes, a train schedule from that year showed no arrivals matching the woman's reported departure. It was as if her presence folded time itself, leaving behind only whispers. As the file grew thick with untraceable steps and impossible sightings, the emotional toll mounted. The storyteller found moments of dizziness and overwhelming sorrow, as if the weight of decades of disappearance pressed down like a fog. A friend suggested stopping, but the urge burned brighter. If the woman was out there, how many more lives echoed in this unaging face? The research also uncovered chilling theories. A secret cult obsessed with eternal youth, rumors of government experiments involving identity erasure, even whispers of parallel realities overlapping. During a particularly bleak night, a journal entry surfaced from the retired detective himself, hinting he'd come close to a truth too terrible to write down. The lines trailing off, smudged as if hurried. She is not what she seems, and yet she is everyone. This paradox pushed the investigation toward the edge of belief, blending myth and reality in a haze as captivating as it was terrifying. Then came the pause, a quiet moment staring at the wall of faded faces. What did it mean? Did the woman represent the enduring grief of countless families? Or was she something else, a cipher for loss itself, a mirror showing how memories can trap and warp time? Tonight, amidst the cluttered studio and flickering screenlight, the line between fact and legend dissolved. And in that void, a profound loneliness settled, whispering that some mysteries might never be solved, but must nonetheless be told. The culmination of years of toil arrived unexpectedly, through a small, overlooked detail. While comparing photographs of the woman from the 1970s poster with a rare private collection of unidentified photos from humanitarian missions in Central America, a glimmer caught the photographer's eye, a distinctive bracelet on the woman's wrist, etched with symbols traced to ancient indigenous patterns. This artifact reignited the investigation, leading it down an unforeseen path. Records soon surfaced of Dr. Evelyn Crane, an eccentric anthropologist who had vanished mysteriously in the early 1970s while conducting fieldwork among remote tribal communities. Though her file was officially stamped missing, presumed dead, whispers suggested otherwise, that she had in some way transcended ordinary existence. Dr. Crane's surviving journals, digitized in fragments, spoke often of crossing the threshold, a space where time, identity, and memory loop rather than flow. Her notes veered between scientific experiment and mystical ritual, bordering on an obsession with transcending time and the boundaries of self. Former colleagues recalled a visionary spirit and a fragile mind. Dr. Crane was infamous for disappearing off the map during research, only to reappear with cryptic sketches and dreamy musings about walking the seam between worlds. No one knew exactly what she believed she had found, or what she might have become. The possibility became unavoidable. Could the woman appearing in decades of missing person posters be Dr. Crane herself? Not a victim in the traditional sense, but a soul caught in perpetual transition, a living question mark. Word of this theory spread rapidly. News outlets and true crime forums blazed with speculation. Headlines ranged from denial, hoax or hallucination, to romantic fascination with the so-called immortal missing woman. Cold case detectives, galvanized by the new lead, reopened files associated with each of her aliases. Some stories yielded new witness accounts. A bartender from 1986 who remembered her eerie calm, a street preacher from Miami recalling a woman with eyes old as mountains, gone before midday. Among the trove of evidence, a rare cassette surfaced, discovered deep in a police archive. The voice, clear and trembling, spoke softly. They seek to understand what cannot be understood. I am neither lost nor found. The photographer, after years spent in the shadow of this mystery, finally stood in their studio late one night, a mug cold in their hands. The wall of faces, stories, artifacts stared back in silence. There was no tidy answer, no satisfying closure, only the echo of a truth swelling inside. Some stories resist resolution, yet demand to be witnessed. The thought returned, if the woman was Dr. Crane, was she lost? Or had she become something different? A symbol untethered from time. The woman's face was as much an empty vessel as a presence, poured full by the hearts, hopes, and nightmares of those who found her in their dreams. Some called it a delusion, others a phenomenon. For the photographer, it was an intimate confrontation with mortality and the human urge to be remembered. Before closing the studio for the last time, the photographer traced a finger over the photographs, each marker of years and missingness. The enigmatic woman remained at the center, ageless, elusive. She was a mirror for all those who fear the silence of forgetting. Her mystery, the photographer realized, was not an answer, but an invitation, a profound call to consider how memory, identity, and hope can twist through time to shape what it means to truly disappear. Soon, the case inspired an international push. Law enforcement agencies began digitizing and cross-referencing unresolved missing person files worldwide, spurred by the prospect that today's impossibility could be tomorrow's accidental discovery. The story stirred hearts far beyond its original boundaries, even as it left the possibility of truth forever unresolved. And behind it all, the faces of the lost remain, haunting and sacred, waiting for witness. In the years that followed, the case of the ageless woman faded from headlines but not from hearts. Law enforcement agencies adapted new protocols for digitizing and cross-referencing missing persons cases, prompted by this strange mystery, to rethink how we track the vanished. Families of the missing, comforted by renewed attention, found solidarity in the collective witness of the internet age. Yet the central question lingers, was the woman a real person? Dr. Crane, forever trapped by science and myth? Or was she a cipher, conjured by our own longing to outmaneuver loss and time? The story endures, at once cautionary tale and cultural touchstone. It asks, if memory can change reality, and if every vanished soul leaves an echo, do any of us ever truly disappear? Or do we remain, faceless or not, in the hearts and dreams of those compelled to remember?
Don't forget to subscribe to Real Mystery Reports for more strange, dark, and profoundly human stories. New true mysteries every day.